Chapter 10. Media Influence and Misinformation, Navigating a Divided Landscape. 10.1 The Evolving Role of Media in Society. 10.2 Battling the Tide of Misinformation and Fake News. 10.3 Media Polarization, Echo Chambers and Divides. 10.4 Journalism Ethics in the Digital Age. 10.5 The Changing Face of Media Technology. 10.6 Comparing International Media Landscapes. 10.7 Fostering Media Literacy and Critical Thinking. 10.8 The Interplay of Media, Politics and Policy. 10.9 Social Media's Role in Social Change. 10.10 Adapting to the Future of Media and Communication. 10.1 The Evolving Role of Media in Society. The role of media in society has undergone significant changes, particularly in the last few decades. Initially, the primary function of media was to inform the public about events and issues in a straightforward and, ideally, unbiased fashion. Newspapers, radio, and television were the main outlets through which people received news and information. The journalists and editors working for these outlets operated under a code of ethics that emphasized accuracy, objectivity, and impartiality. This foundational approach to journalism was aimed at providing citizens with the facts they needed to make informed decisions in a democratic society. As time progressed, the advent of cable television introduced a new dimension to media consumption. The launch of 24-hour news channels created an environment where news was not only about delivering facts, but also about filling continuous programming slots. The need to attract and maintain viewership led to an emphasis on breaking news and commentary. In these channels, debate and discussion began to intermingle more obviously with reporting, and the focus on immediacy sometimes came at the expense of depth and context. The dawn of the Internet caused a seismic shift in media consumption habits. With the availability of online news, social media, and a multitude of content platforms, the gatekeeping role of traditional media was disrupted. News consumption became more about choice, and the power shifted to consumers who could now tailor their information diet to their preferences. This resulted in a fragmentation of media audiences and the siloing of perspectives as people sought out information that aligned with their beliefs. Social media platforms, in particular, have transformed the way news is distributed and consumed. These platforms, designed to connect people and encourage sharing, have become crucial in news dissemination. However, their algorithms, which prioritize engagement, often lead to the amplification of sensational and emotionally charged content. The subjective nature of what is shared and liked can elevate certain narratives while suppressing others. The interplay between these algorithmic choices and human preferences has added a new layer of complexity to how information spreads and how opinions are formed. Amid this shift to digital media, traditional news outlets have had to adapt as well. Adapting to new modes of content delivery, such as podcasts and mobile applications, has become necessary to reach audiences where they spend their time. These platforms require a different style of engagement and have changed the way news is packaged and presented. Shorter, more visual, and interactive content has become the norm, reflecting a trend towards catering to shorter attention spans and a desire for on-the-go consumption. The evolving media landscape has not only changed consumption patterns, but also the business models governing the media industry. With the decline of print advertising revenue and the rise of digital ad spending, media companies have had to find new ways to monetize their content. The resulting reliance on online advertising has, in some instances, led to a clickbait culture, where the value of a story is measured by its ability to generate clicks and ad revenue, rather than its informative or educational merit. Another significant aspect of this evolution has been the role of media as a platform for civil discourse. It has increasingly become a space where societal issues are not only reported, but also debated. Audience participation through comment sections and social media reactions has turned media platforms into public squares where opinions are volleyed back and forth. The challenge, however, is that this discourse can become polarized with little room for nuance or mutual understanding. The credibility and trustworthiness of media sources have also come into question. Accusations of bias, both liberal and conservative, are commonplace, undermining the public's trust in the information being presented. This skepticism has been compounded by the proliferation of misinformation and disinformation, which are disseminated through both traditional and social media channels. The phenomenon of fake news, deliberately created to mislead or influence public opinion, has introduced a critical dimension to the media landscape, one where the truth can be elusive and the motivations of information purveyors are not always clear. In an effort to combat misinformation, fact-checking organizations and initiatives have become more prominent. These groups aim to verify the accuracy of claims made in the media and hold content providers accountable. While these efforts provide a valuable service, they also face challenges, such as scale and the question of who fact-checks the fact-checkers. While these organizations strive for impartiality, they are not immune to accusations of bias, which can limit their effectiveness in the eyes of some segments of the populace. The media's role in shaping public opinion and democratic processes has never been more important. With the ability to influence the electorate's perceptions and decisions, there is an essential need for media literacy among the public. Educating citizens on how to critically analyze sources, understand the context, and identify biases has become crucial. In this environment, the responsibility of media literacy is shared. Individuals must be discerning consumers of information, while educational institutions and the media itself should provide tools and training to facilitate this discernment. Objective reporting and informed editorial content continue to be the ideals for which many media organizations and journalists strive. Despite the prevailing challenges, numerous professionals uphold the principles of veracity and integrity in their reporting. However, the competitive pressures of the industry and the divergent demands of a splintered audience mean that adherence to these traditional journalistic values is always under pressure. Navigating the media landscape requires an ongoing commitment to adaptation and innovation. Media outlets must continually balance the competing demands of providing readily accessible, engaging content while maintaining journalistic standards and serving the public interest. This delicate equilibrium is critical, not only for the health of the media industry, but for the maintenance of an informed, democratic society as well. 10.2 Battling the Tide of Misinformation and Fake News. In the sprawling landscape of modern media, misinformation and fake news have become hot-button issues. Misinformation refers to false or inaccurate information that is spread, intentionally or unintentionally, without the intent to deceive. Conversely, fake news often implies a deliberate attempt to mislead audiences for various purposes, such as political gain or financial profit. These phenomena have significant consequences, ranging from eroding public trust to influencing election outcomes. The advent of digital platforms has compounded this issue, as the speed and reach of information dissemination have exponentially increased. Misinformation and fake news have been instrumental in polarizing public opinion. Social media, in particular, has an uncanny ability to fragment reality into echo chambers by facilitating communities bound by shared beliefs, often rooted in misinformation. These echo chambers reinforce preconceived notions and create insulation from opposing perspectives or corrective information. In such an environment, even well-intentioned individuals can inadvertently propagate false information, believing it to be true. These dynamics complicate the navigation of a divided media landscape and highlight the need for effective strategies to combat misinformation. The spread of misinformation and fake news is not just a domestic problem for the United States, it is a global concern. Attempts by foreign entities to influence elections and public opinion through deceptive practices have been well documented. Such operations harness the viral nature of misinformation, manipulating narratives to sow discord or tilt public sentiment in favor of specific agendas. Identifying and countering these efforts requires international cooperation and robust intelligence operations. It is imperative for governments and organizations to work together to defend against these external threats to the information ecosystem. In this age of information overload, discerning credible sources from unreliable ones has become crucial. Public education initiatives aimed at improving media literacy are fundamental in this regard. Teaching individuals to evaluate sources critically, verify facts, and cross-reference information empowers them to navigate the media environment more intelligently. Such skills are not only invaluable for detecting misinformation, but are also essential in cultivating an informed citizenry that can engage in substantive discourse. In response to the challenges posed by misinformation, many social media companies and news outlets have implemented fact-checking services. However, fact-checking in real time remains a Herculean task, given the sheer volume of content generated each day. Fact-checkers often find themselves in an arms race with purveyors of misinformation who are employing increasingly sophisticated techniques, including deepfakes and other forms of digital manipulation that are difficult to debunk. Collaboration between tech companies, journalists, and academic institutions is key to enhancing the effectiveness of fact-checking efforts. Responsibility also lies with tech companies to modify algorithms that govern what content is displayed to users. The design of these algorithms can inadvertently prioritize sensational or divisive content, regardless of its veracity, because it tends to draw engagement. Adjusting these algorithms to promote accurate, authoritative information without sacrificing user engagement is an ongoing challenge. It also raises concerns about censorship and the role these platforms should play in curating content. Striking a balance between limiting the spread of misinformation and preserving free speech is an issue at the forefront of policy debates. Government plays a significant role in addressing misinformation and fake news. Legislators wrestle with how to regulate the digital landscape without stifling innovation or infringing upon constitutional rights. Some argue for stronger regulation of social media platforms, holding them accountable as publishers rather than neutral platforms. Others advocate for self-regulation, with the government setting broad guidelines but allowing the industry to police itself. The complexities of these legal and ethical concerns underscore the importance of nuanced policy that can adapt to the ever-evolving media environment. Public trust is an essential component of effective governance, and misinformation can erode that trust. Agencies and public officials must communicate transparently and consistently to maintain credibility. Official communications should be clear, accurate, and timely, particularly during crises when misinformation can spread rapidly. Building and maintaining trust is a continuous process, one that becomes even more challenging when faced with the deliberate spread of disinformation. Therefore, fostering a relationship with the public based on transparency and responsiveness is critical. In addition to institutional efforts, individual accountability plays a pivotal role in combating misinformation. Users must take responsibility for the content they share and the sources they trust. Encouraging critical thinking and skepticism, without crossing into cynicism, is essential in helping individuals differentiate between trustworthy and suspect information. Peer influence can be a powerful tool in curbing the spread of misinformation. When individuals correct false information within their own networks, they help to create a culture that values truth and accuracy. The battle against misinformation and fake news is multifaceted and requires a concerted effort from all sectors of society. Education and media literacy initiatives, fact-checking services, responsible tech company policies, transparent government communication, international cooperation, and personal accountability are all critical elements in this fight. As the media landscape continues to evolve, the strategies to counter misinformation must also adapt, ensuring that the public's right to factual information is upheld and that the fabric of democracy remains intact. 10.3 Media polarization, echo chambers and divides. The phenomenon of media polarization refers to the increasing split in the presentation and consumption of news along distinctly political and ideological lines. This split often results in individuals gravitating toward news sources that reflect their own beliefs, a tendency that has been amplified by the advent of digital and social media platforms. These platforms use algorithms designed to maximize engagement by showing users content that aligns with their previous interactions. Consequently, users often encounter a reinforcing cycle of viewpoints similar to their own, leading to the formation of echo chambers. An echo chamber is an environment where a person is exposed exclusively or predominantly to opinions that mirror their own, reducing exposure to differing perspectives and potentially exacerbating ideological divides. The emergence of echo chambers has a pronounced impact on discourse within society. When individuals are ensconced within informational silos, the potential for constructive dialogue across different political and social groups diminishes. In such scenarios, the common ground for discussions is eroded, since debate participants are coming from drastically different sets of facts or interpretations thereof. This difference can lead to intense polarization, where the middle ground becomes increasingly rare, and compromise becomes a sign of weakness rather than a strength. Furthermore, evidence points to the tendency of individuals within echo chambers to adopt more extreme positions over time, a phenomenon that political scientists refer to as group polarization. Mainstream media has not been immune to the effects of media polarization. In pursuit of ratings and profitability, many news outlets have adopted a more pronounced ideological stance, tailor-fitting their content to appeal to specific audiences. News organizations are incentivized to focus on stories and angles that resonate with their base, which can sometimes lead to partial or biased reporting. The selective reporting can serve to reinforce the preconceived notions held by their audiences and dissuade viewers from considering other sources of news, further solidifying the echo chamber effect. This specialization of news sources has been facilitated by the collapse of traditional media business models, where the proliferation of digital news sources has diluted audiences and introduced a fight for survival, often predicated on ideological differentiation. Misinformation significantly compounds the problem of media polarization. The ease with which false information can spread on digital platforms exacerbates the divisions between groups by providing seemingly legitimate fodder for pre-existing biases. Social media, in particular, has been a catalyst for the swift dissemination of misinformation, with false stories often receiving more engagement than their fact-checked counterparts. Misinformation exploits emotional responses and often goes viral by appealing to fears, prejudices, or sensationalism. This environment is fertile ground for the propagation of conspiracy theories and false narratives, which can further drive wedges between different segments of the population. Misinformation and media polarization also influence public trust in media institutions. As news outlets appear more ideologically motivated, skepticism regarding journalistic integrity and objectivity rises. This erosion of trust reaches a point where people may dismiss factual reporting from traditional sources, undermining the role of journalism as a public watchdog and civic informant. This distrust is often exploited by political actors, where cries of fake news can be used to dismiss unfavorable reporting or solidify an us versus them mindset among supporters. The rise of algorithm-driven content delivery has played a pivotal role in enhancing media polarization. Algorithms are designed to maximize user engagement by predicting what content a user is most likely to enjoy or react to based on their digital history. These algorithmic processes, while effective in keeping users engaged with the platform, tend to create feedback loops that intensify exposure to homogeneous content. The reinforcement of views that occurs through these algorithms can be so targeted and subtle that users might not even be aware they are in an echo chamber, as their viewpoints seem naturally prevalent and widespread. The impact of media polarization is not limited to the public's information consumption. It has tangible effects on the functioning of democratic institutions. When constituents subscribe to vastly different realities, political representatives can struggle to craft policies that have broad support. Additionally, the acknowledgement of complex or nuanced issues is lost to sensationalism and partisanship, making it difficult for elected officials to reach across the aisle without facing backlash from their constituents or media. This dynamic contributes to legislative gridlock and cynicism about the efficacy of governmental action to address society's challenges. Addressing media polarization requires multifaceted strategies involving public education, media literacy initiatives, and possible interventions by platforms and regulators. Media literacy programs aim to empower individuals to critically assess news sources, check for credibility, and seek out diverse perspectives. These programs can help counteract the natural human tendency to seek confirmation for pre-existing beliefs and reduce the susceptibility to misinformation. Platform interventions might include redesigning algorithms to prioritize diversity of content and transparency measures to make users aware of how their data is shaping their online experiences. Regulatory approaches could involve the imposition of standards on how information is disseminated on these platforms. However, such steps must be carefully weighed against concerns regarding free speech and the risk of governmental overreach. The current landscape of media consumption and its polarization present challenges not only to individuals, but also to the foundations of civil discourse and democratic engagement. The echo chambers formed through this process undermine a collective sense of truth and fact, a crucial element for the functioning of any society that seeks to address its issues through reasoned debate and evidence-based policymaking. Understanding and addressing the factors that contribute to media polarization are essential steps in restoring a more informed and less divided public sphere. While definitive solutions may be elusive, it is critical to approach the challenge of media polarization with the recognition that shared reality and mutual understanding are central to the health of social and political systems. Efforts to confront echo chambers and misinformation must be rooted in a commitment to fostering a media environment that prioritizes accuracy, diversity of viewpoints, and the provision of context. By doing so, it is possible to navigate the divided landscape of the media and steer towards a future characterized by greater information integrity and societal cohesion. 10.4 Journalism Ethics in the Digital Age. Journalism ethics have long been the cornerstone of a functioning democratic society, serving as a means to inform the public, scrutinize power, and stimulate public discourse. With the advent of the digital age, the proliferation of online news sources and the rise of social media platforms have created new challenges and considerations for maintaining ethical journalistic practices. Traditional journalism is grounded in a set of principles: accuracy, independence, fairness, and accountability, among others. Such principles are intended to guide journalists in their pursuit of truth and in providing the public with factual and unbiased information. Yet, the digital age has both broadened the scope and blurred the lines as to who is considered a journalist and what constitutes ethical reporting. The Internet has democratized the dissemination of information, empowering not just established news entities, but also freelance journalists, bloggers, and social media influencers to report on events and share narratives. This broad range of voices can enrich public discourse by introducing diverse perspectives and stories that might otherwise go untold. However, the ease of publishing on digital platforms also poses significant ethical challenges. Without rigorous editorial processes to ensure accuracy, false information can spread quickly and widely. Journalists and media organizations must therefore place an increased emphasis on fact-checking and verification to maintain credibility in the digital sphere. The expansion of the pool of those who identify as journalists has also necessitated the development of new frameworks for assessing ethical journalism that are inclusive of these varied contributors while upholding professional standards. The speed at which news is reported online pressures journalists to publish quickly, often at the expense of thoroughness and sometimes accuracy. The 24-hour news cycle and the push for real-time updates exacerbate this issue, creating an environment where the first to report often gains the most attention. It also opens a window for misinformation to be disseminated, either inadvertently, as journalists race to break news, or deliberately as malicious actors exploit the rapid news cycle. Journalists must navigate these pressures with careful consideration, balancing the need to inform the public promptly with the responsibility to ensure that reporting is as accurate as possible. Social media platforms compound ethical challenges by enabling content, both true and false, to be amplified and manipulated. Algorithms designed to engage users can inadvertently promote sensational or misleading content. Despite not being traditional news outlets, these platforms have become critical spaces for news consumption, and thus their role in the dissemination of information brings them into the conversation of journalism ethics. Journalists operating within these spaces, or whose content is shared on these platforms, must be especially vigilant in how their work contributes to the narratives being shaped and consumed by the public. The fragmentation of media and the personalization of news feeds can also lead to the creation of echo chambers, where individuals are predominantly exposed to information that confirms their pre-existing beliefs. This environment can foster division and polarization. Journalists bear the responsibility of seeking to minimize such fractures by covering a breadth of issues and viewpoints, and by striving to reach audiences beyond their typical readership. The goal should be to bridge gaps in understanding, not widen them. The emphasis on engagement metrics, such as likes, shares, and comments, adds another layer of complexity to journalistic ethics. Media organizations often feel the pressure to produce content that is likely to perform well on social media platforms, which can incline them towards sensationalism or emotional provocation. It's crucial that journalistic entities resist allowing these metrics to dictate their editorial decisions or to overshadow the importance of informative and responsible reporting. Ethical journalism must prioritize substance over superficial engagement. Another aspect of journalism ethics that is heightened by the digital landscape is the handling of sources. The protection of confidential sources remains a fundamental principle, yet in an online world, there are increased risks to anonymity and confidentiality. Digital communication trails may expose sources to unforeseen dangers. Journalists have a responsibility to understand and utilize secure methods of communication to safeguard their sources, especially when reporting on sensitive or controversial topics. Digital media has also shifted power dynamics by allowing the subjects of news stories to interact directly with journalists and the public. This presents new ethical considerations, as journalists may be drawn into debates or even conflicts with their subjects on public platforms. Maintaining professionalism and ethical standards in these interactions is vital to uphold the integrity of the journalist and their reporting. Journalists must remain impartial and not become participants in the stories they are covering. Furthermore, in the realm of digital reporting, visual journalism has become more prominent. Images and videos can be powerful tools for storytelling, but they can also be manipulated or taken out of context, leading to misrepresentation. Ethical visual journalism involves careful selection and presentation of visual content, ensuring that it provides an accurate and fair representation of the subject matter. The potential for images to be altered or misrepresented is significant in the digital domain. Thus, journalists must meticulously verify the authenticity of visual materials before publication. As traditional revenue models for journalism change, issues of financial sustainability have prompted news organizations to seek alternative sources of funding, including sponsored content and partnerships. While these can provide necessary resources, they also pose ethical challenges regarding the independence of journalism. Clear distinctions must be made between editorial content and advertising to avoid conflicts of interest or the perception that reporting might be influenced by financial considerations. Journalism's primary allegiance should be to the public, and ensuring transparency in these matters is essential to maintaining trust. The ethics of reporting on vulnerable groups and individuals in the digital age deserve special attention. The global reach of online journalism means that stories have the potential to affect subjects in unpredictable ways. Ethical journalists must be aware of the impact their reporting can have on individuals and communities, particularly those who may be at risk of harm or who lack the resources to respond effectively to media coverage. This awareness should guide the manner in which stories are reported, with a focus on minimizing harm and treating subjects with respect and dignity. In conclusion, journalism ethics in the digital age continue to be founded on the traditional pillars of journalistic integrity, but they must adapt to the particular challenges and opportunities presented by the digital landscape. The essential task remains to serve the public interest by providing accurate, independent, and fair reporting. Journalists must navigate this complex terrain with a commitment to ethical principles, even as the ground shifts beneath their feet. Maintaining ethics in journalism not only serves the immediate goal of informing the public, but also upholds the greater purpose of supporting a healthy, informed democracy. 10.5 The changing face of media technology. In the current realm of media, we are witnessing a transition that is reshaping not only the way we consume content, but also how we process and understand the world around us. The surge of online platforms has catalyzed a transformation from traditional print and broadcast models to what is often described as the digital, social, and interactive media era. This shift reflects changes in technology, consumer behavior, and business strategies. The evolution is ongoing, leading to novel paradigms and tools for communication. An exploration into these technological changes sheds light on both the benefits and challenges they pose for society, particularly in the context of disseminating information and shaping public opinion. The genesis of this transformation can be traced back to the popularization of the Internet and the subsequent creation of social media platforms. As more individuals gained access to high-speed Internet, the potential audience for digital media ballooned. The landscape started to morph rapidly with the proliferation of devices such as smartphones and tablets, allowing users to access content anytime and anywhere. These technological advancements have given rise to new media consumption habits. Media is no longer something that audiences must seek out. It is readily available, pervasive, and personalized, catering to the unique tastes and interests of individual users. Furthermore, social media platforms have usurped the place of traditional news outlets as the primary source of information for many. Algorithms curate content, often creating echo chambers that reinforce users' pre-existing beliefs. This tailored content delivery, based on complex algorithms, has significantly impacted the way news is consumed and shared. The individualization of news feeds on platforms like Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube can lead to a fragmented understanding of current events, as not everyone receives the same information or range of perspectives. This segmentation of media content according to individual preference and behavior is a sharp departure from the one-size-fits-all approach of traditional media. Another noteworthy aspect of this technological shift is the rise of citizen journalism and user-generated content. With the barriers to content creation and distribution all but demolished by the Internet, individuals have taken it upon themselves to produce and share news and opinions. This democratization of media production has empowered voices that were previously marginalized or excluded from mainstream media dialogues. While this broadening of perspective is beneficial for a diverse and inclusive public discourse, it also poses significant challenges in verifying the validity of rapidly disseminated information. The line between verified journalism and opinion becomes increasingly blurred in the user-generated milieu. The realm of digital media is also characterized by a rapid and relentless pace. News cycles that used to span days or weeks are now measured in hours or even minutes. This necessitates constant updates and real-time reporting, often at the expense of thorough fact-checking and depth of reporting. The pressure to be the first to break news can lead to sensationalism, the propagation of inaccuracies, and a general erosion of trust in media institutions. The audience's craving for immediate information complicates the media's role as a reliable source of information, putting a premium on speed over accuracy. The financial model that supports media has also undergone considerable change. Traditional revenue streams like subscription fees and advertising are being challenged by the expectation of free content online. To adapt, media companies have experimented with various models, including paywalls, sponsored content, and native advertising. However, these methods have their drawbacks, as paywalls can limit audience reach and sponsored content can blur the lines between editorial integrity and business interests. Media companies find themselves in a balancing act, trying to maintain profitability while preserving the trustworthiness and quality of their content. The manipulation of information for political or economic gain is not new, but technology has amplified the scale of misinformation. The term fake news has become ubiquitous, referring to deliberate falsehoods or distortions of truth spread primarily via social media. The ease and speed with which information can be shared online exacerbate the spread of misinformation. The task of battling this tide of falsehoods falls on both the technology platforms and media consumers. Media literacy, the ability to critically evaluate the plethora of information encountered, is more important than ever. Ensuring that the electorate is informed by facts rather than persuasion or deceit is a monumental challenge in the digital age. Amidst these challenges, there are concerted efforts to harness media technology for the greater good. Initiatives to employ artificial intelligence for fact-checking, to develop digital literacy programs, and to encourage the responsible sharing of information are underway. These endeavors aim to elevate the quality of discourse and to empower users as well-informed contributors to the public sphere. They represent a recognition of the potential that media technology holds, not merely as a vector for misinformation, but as a tool for educational and democratic enrichment. The utilization of emerging technologies like virtual reality, VR, and augmented reality, AR, is also transforming the media landscape. These technologies offer immersive experiences that can provide a deeper understanding of news stories and issues. For example, a VR experience may transport users to the epicenter of a humanitarian crisis, fostering empathy and insight that traditional reporting could struggle to convey. While the prospect of widespread adoption of VR and AR in media is still a work in progress, early applications suggest a powerful new dimension for storytelling and journalism. The rise of personalized digital assistants and smart home devices presents yet another avenue for information dissemination. These tools are increasingly becoming intermediaries between consumers and news providers, sometimes creating another layer of curation and selection. As these AI-driven technologies learn from user interactions, they could further customize the delivery of news and information, deepening the personalization of media consumption. In tackling the multitude of changes brought on by media technology, it is important to recognize that technology itself is not inherently good or bad. The root of the challenges faced in the realm of media influence and misinformation lies in how these technological tools are utilized by society. There is a need for a collective and conscious effort to ensure that technological advances serve to inform, educate, and unite, rather than mislead, divide, and polarize. Amidst the rapidly shifting landscape, the impetus is on users, media professionals, technologists, and policymakers to navigate this terrain with a commitment to fostering a well-informed public and a vibrant, responsible media ecosystem. 10.6 Comparing international media landscapes. The media landscape varies significantly from country to country, shaped by different historical, political, and cultural influences. In considering the international media stage, it is essential to comprehend the distinctions in how countries consume, produce, and regulate their news media. From state-controlled outlets to independent journalism, the impact of media across the globe reveals both universal challenges and distinctive national characteristics. In authoritarian regimes, state-run or state-affiliated media outlets often dominate the landscape, offering a perspective that aligns with government interests. These media outlets typically serve as mouthpieces for the ruling party, disseminating information supportive of government policies while neglecting or suppressing dissenting views. In such environments, the state exercises strict control over the flow of information, which can include aggressive censorship, internet firewalls, and the punishment of journalists or media organizations that challenge the official narrative. China and North Korea are examples where freedom of the press is limited, with the government managing or influencing the majority of media output. In contrast to these more controlled media environments, democratic nations generally possess a freer press, characterized by a plurality of voices and a degree of legal protection for journalistic activities. Democratic countries typically exhibit a landscape where multiple media sources compete for audiences, offering a diverse range of perspectives. In the United States, for example, there are mainstream media outlets with differing editorial slants, alternative media, and an array of online sources that contribute to a vibrant, though often polarized media landscape. The First Amendment protects freedom of the press, allowing for the investigation and criticism of the government, albeit within the bounds of defamation and privacy laws. The United Kingdom presents a combination of public broadcasting and private media, with an emphasis on journalistic standards and independence. The British Broadcasting Corporation, BBC, a public service broadcaster, is funded through a television license fee and aims to provide impartial news coverage. However, this model has faced criticism from some who claim the BBC exhibits bias or is influenced by political entities. Nonetheless, British media is subject to regulation by entities like Ofcom, promoting standards and protecting audiences from harmful content. In Europe, there is often a greater acceptance of overtly partisan media, with newspapers and television channels frequently aligned with specific political ideologies or parties. Despite this partisanship, regulatory bodies in many European countries, such as the Conseil supérieur de l'audiovisuel in France, work to ensure that even privately owned, partisan media outlets meet certain standards of public service and objectivity, especially during election periods. The media landscape in the Middle East reflects a mixture of influences, with some nations hosting a relatively free press, while others maintain a strong statehold on information. Traditional media in several Middle Eastern countries is closely tied to government or ruling families, and direct criticism of authorities can be dangerous for journalists. Nonetheless, satellite television and the Internet have brought diversified content and opened some societies to broader discussions, albeit with varying degrees of censorship and surveillance. In Africa, media infrastructure and freedom can be quite heterogeneous. Many countries are witnessing a growth in Internet-based media, which is beginning to challenge state-owned or elite-controlled traditional media. This shift has improved access to a wider spectrum of views, although the pre-existing patterns of control and regulation present significant obstacles to a free press. Additionally, economic barriers often limit the reach and impact of independent media, with only a minority of the population accessing the full range of available sources. Latin America's media landscape is often characterized by the concentration of ownership, which affects media pluralism and independence. Powerful business conglomerates or families control numerous media outlets, influencing the dissemination of information and sometimes aligning content with their political or economic interests. While there are independent media organizations striving for journalistic integrity and independence, they frequently face pressures from governments and other powerful actors. In Russia, the media environment is known for being tightly controlled by the state, with significant restrictions on press freedom. Government-friendly oligarchs own many major media outlets, and independent journalists who report on sensitive issues like corruption often encounter harassment or even violence. The Russian government also employs internet regulations and an arsenal of cyber tools to monitor and influence public opinion, both domestically and internationally. The media landscape in India, with its burgeoning population and diverse society, is exceptionally varied. A multitude of languages and regions contributes to a highly fragmented media market. While the country boasts a large and relatively free press, it is not without its challenges. Press freedom has experienced pressures from political, corporate, and religious interests, resulting in varying degrees of censorship. Additionally, India has faced rising accusations of paid news, wherein content is essentially sponsored by political entities or businesses without clear disclosure. Japan's media industry is advanced and consists of a mix of public and private entities. However, Japan's media has been criticized for its Kisha Club system, which restricts the flow of information by granting exclusive access to certain journalists, often leading to a lack of aggressive investigative reporting. Additionally, Japanese media traditionally maintain close relations with the government, resulting in an environment where critical, independent journalism is less prevalent than in other developed democracies. Assessing the international media landscapes shines a light on the varying levels of freedom, diversity, and governmental control experienced globally. While the proliferation of online media has stimulated a democratization of information and a surge in independent voices, many nations still grapple with significant constraints. The role of state influence, regulatory frameworks, ownership concentration, economic disparities, and cultural factors all combine to shape a nation's media ecosystem. As misinformation and manipulation of the media become increasingly sophisticated, understanding these international contexts grows ever more critical. This comparison elucidates not only the differences, but also the common challenges faced in safeguarding the integrity of reporting and fostering a free and truthful press worldwide. 10.7 Fostering media literacy and critical thinking. Media literacy comprises the skills and knowledge necessary to understand, create, and interact with media content critically. As it stands, fostering media literacy is paramount to navigating the treacherous landscape of misinformation and the partisan divide it often exacerbates. Individuals empowered with media literacy can distinguish between credible news sources and unreliable information being promulgated for various motives, including political gain, financial profit, or social influence. In a world saturated with content from a myriad of sources, being media literate also means understanding the economic and political context within which media operates, recognizing the roles and responsibilities of media creators, and being aware of the ways media can affect individuals and society. The advent of digital media, in particular, has made it easier for misinformation to spread rapidly. As such, education systems at all levels have begun to focus on imparting media literacy to help students navigate digital landscapes effectively. Educators are tasked with incorporating critical thinking skills into their curricula, teaching students to question the veracity of information, to recognize bias, and to evaluate sources. Such training is essential not only for personal development, but for the preservation of a democracy that relies on well-informed citizens to make reasoned decisions. Critical thinking is the foundation upon which media literacy rests. It involves the ability to reason logically, to analyze arguments critically, and to recognize fallacious reasoning. In the context of media consumption, critical thinking enables one to question the motivations behind the creation and distribution of information. It helps to assess the reliability of sources, discern the presence of bias, analyze the message's congruency with reality, and ultimately form well-founded judgments about the information one is presented with. Furthermore, fostering media literacy involves teaching individuals about the mechanisms behind algorithm-driven content distribution platforms, such as social media. These platforms often employ algorithms designed to keep users engaged, which can lead to exposure to increasingly polarized and extreme content. By understanding these mechanisms, individuals can be more aware of the potential for manipulation and can take active steps to diversify their media consumption, reducing the echo chamber effect that contributes to the polarization of society. The role of public institutions and media organizations themselves should also be examined in the context of fostering media literacy. These entities bear a certain responsibility in upholding standards of truth and integrity in the information they provide. Public broadcasting services and journalistic standards bodies have a part to play in safeguarding the veracity of information disseminated to the public. Education about the mission and operation of such institutions can fortify the public's ability to critically assess the objectivity and credibility of different media outlets. Despite these efforts, the challenge of misinformation persists and evolves, often outpacing the responses designed to contain it. Misinformation campaigns can be sophisticated and appear credible to undiscerning consumers of media. Therefore, fostering an environment where critical thinking and media literacy are core societal values is necessary to combat the influence of deliberately misleading information. This can be achieved through consistent public dialogue, engagement with media literacy organizations, and continuous education on critical consumption practices across all age groups. Collaboration between educators, industry specialists, and policymakers is required to create impactful media literacy programs. These programs should not only address the current media environment, but also anticipate future developments in technology and information dissemination. This forward-thinking approach would ensure that media literacy education remains relevant and effective in the face of an ever-evolving media landscape. Moreover, it is imperative to acknowledge that media literacy is not just about being skeptical of all media, but about developing a balanced understanding. Individuals should learn to appreciate quality journalism and recognize the effort that legitimate media organizations put into reporting accurately and fairly. Highlighting positive examples of credible journalism can serve as models for critical engagement with media content. Finally, fostering media literacy also means encouraging the creation of media content by individuals. Through creating content, individuals can gain a deeper appreciation for the journalistic process and the complexity of communicating information effectively and ethically. Participatory media culture, where consumers are also creators, can lead to greater awareness of the nuances involved in the production and dissemination of media messages. By focusing on these aspects of media literacy and critical thinking, society can advance towards better-informed citizenship. This, in turn, can help mitigate the polarization that threatens democratic discourse and function. It is a cumulative effort that requires persistent, widespread commitment, but the benefits of a media-literate population capable of critical thought are significant and far-reaching. The growth of such capabilities is not just an educational goal, but a necessity for the maintenance and advancement of democracy in an information-rich age. 10.8 The interplay of media, politics, and policy. The media's influence on politics and policy is substantial and multifaceted, acting as a bridge between governing bodies and the public. In the United States, a landscape characterized by rapidly evolving communication technologies and media outlets, the relationship between media, politics, and policy is paramount. This interplay has historic roots but has been significantly transformed in the digital age, where information and misinformation spreads faster than ever before. Understanding this dynamic is crucial to comprehend the currents of contemporary political discourse and policy making. Media plays a critical role in shaping political narratives. It informs the public discourse and heavily influences voters' opinions and beliefs. The media acts as a gatekeeper, deciding which issues deserve attention and setting the public agenda. This power to highlight specific topics often dictates the focus of political debate, with policymakers responding to the issues that gain traction in the media. As such, politicians are acutely aware of their media portrayal and frequently tailor their communication strategies to leverage this coverage to their advantage. The symbiotic relationship between media and politics is evident in campaign strategies. Candidates harness various platforms, from traditional news outlets to social media networks, to disseminate their messages and rally supporters. Campaigns are often crafted with an eye towards media friendliness, emphasizing sound bites and visually compelling events that are more likely to receive coverage. The tethering of politics to media performance has altered the nature of political campaigns, where mastery of media dynamics can be as crucial as policy expertise. Social media, in particular, has revolutionized the ways in which politicians communicate with constituents. It allows for direct engagement with voters, bypassing traditional media filters. Social media has become a primary tool for political actors to shape public perception without the mediating role of journalistic analysis. This direct line to the electorate has its benefits in fostering immediate interaction, but it also raises concerns about the bypassing of journalistic rigor and fact-checking processes that are fundamental to maintaining the integrity of public discourse. The velocity with which information spreads in the digital age has tremendous implications for policymaking. Political actors must respond more rapidly to evolving situations, with media scrutiny closely following. The rapid news cycle can create pressure on politicians to take swift action, sometimes at the expense of careful deliberation and comprehensive policy analysis. The instant feedback loop through online channels often inflates the urgency of responses, which can lead to rushed or reactionary policymaking. Misinformation presents a significant challenge in the media's influence on politics and public policy. The proliferation of false or misleading information can severely distort the public's understanding and skew the political process. Efforts to combat misinformation are complicated by the question of who should be the arbiter of truth and how to balance concerns about free speech with the need for factual accuracy. Misinformation can lead to misinformed policies that fail to address the underlying issues effectively, or worse, exacerbate them. Another aspect of the interplay between media, politics, and policy is the polarization of media outlets. News sources are increasingly catering to specific ideological segments, contributing to an environment where different groups of the population have vastly different understandings of issues. This segmentation furthers political polarization, as individuals become entrenched in echo chambers that reinforce pre-existing beliefs. Such polarization can impede bipartisan policymaking, as legislators cater to their bases' mediated perception of reality rather than engaging in cross-party dialogue. The influence of media on politics is not only a domestic concern, but has international implications as well. Global media networks and the transnational flow of information mean that domestic political issues can gain international attention, influencing foreign policy decisions. Additionally, international political actors can leverage media to influence the domestic politics of other nations, as seen with concerns about election interference and the spread of state-sponsored propaganda. Financial considerations also play a role in the media's influence on politics. Media outlets are businesses that require revenue to operate. This economic dimension can impact coverage, with sensational news often attracting more viewers and readers, and thereby more advertising dollars. The need to maintain profitable operations can sometimes result in sensationalism or the overlooking of nuanced, complex issues that are less enticing to mass audiences, but crucial for informed political processes. The regulatory environment governing media also has a direct impact on the political landscape. Legal frameworks dictate the terms of media ownership, broadcast rights, net neutrality, and other factors that shape the media market. These regulations can either encourage a diverse and competitive media environment that fosters a healthy public discourse, or can lead to media consolidation and the concentration of media influence in the hands of a few. Regulatory decisions, therefore, not only affect the media industry, but also the broader terrain of political communication and policymaking. 10.9 Social media's role in social change. Social media has become a profound agent for social change, reshaping how citizens engage, how information is disseminated, and how movements gain momentum. Its role is multifaceted, influencing social dynamics and political landscapes while offering a platform for activism and public discourse. As a double-edged sword, social media can either bolster the spread of factual information, or it can accelerate the distribution of misinformation, thereby impacting societal beliefs and behaviors significantly. The influence of social media on social change is observed through its capacity to connect like-minded individuals. Platforms such as Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram allow users to quickly find and engage with communities that share similar interests and concerns. This connection can transcend geographical boundaries, creating global networks of activists. For example, the #MeToo movement, largely propelled by social media, brought together people from diverse backgrounds to share personal stories of sexual harassment and assault, fostering solidarity and prompting societal changes in how such issues are perceived and addressed. Another significant aspect of social media's role is the rapid dissemination of information. Social networks can amplify messages instantly, reaching vast audiences far quicker than traditional media outlets. Speed is crucial in driving social change, as timely information can be a catalyst for action. The Arab Spring, notably rooted in social media, demonstrated how quickly mobilization could occur. Young people, using platforms like Twitter, organized and rallied against oppressive regimes, showing the world the power of digital connectivity. Social media also plays a vital role as a democratizing force. It gives a voice to those who might not otherwise be heard, providing a platform for marginalized groups to share their perspectives. Traditional gatekeepers of information, such as major news outlets, are no longer the sole purveyors of public discourse. With social media, anyone with internet access can contribute to the conversation and help influence public opinion. However, the potential for misinformation on social media is a substantial challenge. Because anyone can publish content, the veracity of that information often goes unchecked. The spread of false information can lead to misinformed publics and can be particularly detrimental when it comes to mobilizing action around social or political causes. Misinformation can fuel polarization, create unnecessary fear, or foster unwarranted distrust in institutions designed to serve public interests. The business model of social media, which prioritizes user engagement over content accuracy, often exacerbates the spread of misinformation. Algorithms designed to keep users on the platform can promote sensational and divisive content, regardless of its truthfulness. As a result, information that triggers emotional reactions is more likely to be amplified, even if it is misleading or entirely false. Social media has also introduced new dynamics to participatory engagement and advocacy. #activism, where campaigns are built around a unifying hashtag, allows for the coalescence of disparate groups toward a common goal. This form of digital mobilization can lead to real-world action, as seen with movements such as #BlackLivesMatter, which played a pivotal role in raising awareness of racial injustice and police brutality. Nevertheless, reliance on social media for activism can also lead to what is known as slacktivism or clicktivism, where individuals show superficial support for a cause through simple online actions like sharing a post or liking a photo. Critics argue that this minimal level of engagement does not translate into meaningful social change, and in some cases, may even detract from more substantive action. On a more positive note, social media allows for the rapid organization of protests and rallies. Mobilization efforts that once took weeks or months to coordinate can now be arranged in a matter of days or even hours. This speed can be crucial when immediate action is necessary, such as in response to fast-developing political events or human rights violations. Furthermore, social media provides a platform for counter-narratives and fact-checking. Amidst the widespread problem of misinformation, many users, activists, and organizations use social media to correct falsehoods and present accurate information. Although combating misinformation is an ongoing battle, the same tools that spread untruths can also be employed to disseminate factual, reliable content. Yet, despite the potential for accurately informed social movements, there is a distinct disparity in access to social media globally. Often referred to as the digital divide, this gap between those with internet access and those without can limit who is able to participate in online activism and whose voices get heard. As such, while social media can promote inclusiveness, it can also reinforce existing inequities. In analyzing social media's role in social change, one cannot ignore the psychological impacts it has on its users. Social media can influence collective behavior, shaping societal norms and ethical standards. The visibility of certain movements can normalize previously taboo topics, gradually shifting public opinion. This can lead to legislative changes, as lawmakers respond to the pressures of an informed and mobilized electorate. Moreover, the personal stories shared on social media make issues more relatable and compelling. When individuals post about their experiences with various social issues, it can humanize abstract concepts, creating empathy and understanding among a wider audience. These narratives can serve as powerful testimonies that rally others to the cause and spark societal transformation. Lastly, social media's impact on social change is not static. The digital landscape is constantly evolving, with new platforms emerging and user behaviors shifting. As technology advances, so too does the potential for harnessing social media as a tool for activism. With each innovation, there are opportunities to refine tactics for advocacy and to address the shortcomings of the preceding approaches. Social media's role in social change is complex and multifaceted. It offers tremendous opportunities for mobilization, education, and awareness raising, while also presenting challenges, notably in the spread of misinformation and the potential for superficial engagement. It is not a panacea for social issues, but a medium through which collective action and discourse can be shaped. As society continues to grapple with pressing issues, the understanding and strategic use of social media as a tool for social change will undoubtedly evolve, reflecting the adaptability and innovation inherent in the digital age. 10.10 Adapting to the future of media and communication. The future of media and communication holds both promise and peril. Technologies like artificial intelligence, machine learning, and advanced algorithms are already shaping the way we create, consume, and disseminate information. The rate of change within the media landscape is rapid, and individuals and organizations alike must be prepared to adapt to these continuous evolutions. The need for media literacy has never been more significant, as the distinctions between credible news, misinformation, and entertainment grow ever more nuanced. An educated populace capable of discerning the validity and bias of the information presented to them stands as a critical bulwark against the spread of misinformation. In the coming years, we can expect the proliferation of personalized media consumption. Algorithms designed to cater to individual preferences and tastes create echo chambers, which are personalized information bubbles that reinforce existing beliefs and worldviews. This targeted content curation by social networks and news aggregation platforms has the potential to further polarize opinions. To adapt, it may be necessary to deliberately seek out diverse perspectives and engage in critical analysis of the sources we encounter, taking accountability for our media consumption habits. Efforts to diversify media exposure can mitigate some of the adverse effects of these echo chambers. The rise of deepfake technology presents a profound challenge for the integrity of media. Deepfakes, which use AI to create realistic-looking footage of events that never happened, can be utilized to discredit individuals, spread false narratives, and create unrest. This technology is advancing rapidly, making it increasingly difficult to distinguish between what is real and what is fabricated. Future media consumers must be equipped with tools and skills to detect these falsehoods. Meanwhile, the development of technology to authenticate digital content is crucial. Leveraging cryptographic signatures to verify the origin and integrity of digital content could become standard practice in journalism and online media. User-generated content has democratized media production, allowing virtually anyone to broadcast their voice to the world. However, this freedom also provides a platform for hate speech, sensationalism, and the unchecked spread of false information. Establishing and enforcing guidelines on user-generated platforms is a complex challenge that involves balancing freedom of speech with the need to protect society from harmful content. It is essential that platform developers, legal experts, and civil society work together to refine these boundaries. Media literacy programs that emphasize ethical participation in the digital space can empower users to be mindful of the impact their online behavior can have on the broader community. The speed at which information spreads on social media often outpaces the rate at which it can be verified, adding to the spread of misinformation. Immediate reactions to breaking news can lead to the dissemination of unconfirmed reports or outright falsehoods. To adapt, the public must be encouraged to practice patience and skepticism, waiting for credible sources to confirm information before accepting it as truth. Similarly, news organizations must prioritize accuracy over speed, even if this means taking more time to fact-check before publishing a story. With the growing role of influencers and celebrities in shaping public opinion, the future of media will include a greater emphasis on the responsibilities of public figures in society. Influencers who have built their platforms on authenticity may need to be more transparent about their motivations and the potential consequences of their influence. Media consumers, recognizing the persuasive power of these figures, must be cautious about accepting endorsements or opinions as unbiased truths. The relationship between influencers, their audience, and the truth becomes an area ripe for ethical examination and regulation. The next generation of media consumers will likely seek greater interactivity with their content. Augmented reality, AR, and virtual reality, VR, technologies allow for immersive experiences that blend digital information with the physical world. As these technologies become more mainstream, they will further shape the way news and stories are experienced. Preparing consumers to navigate these immersive environments involves understanding the novel ethical and psychological impacts of such experiences. Media literacy education will need to evolve to include these new dimensions of digital interaction. Data privacy concerns are at the forefront of media consumption and will continue to play a critical role in the future. The vast amount of data collected by media companies has raised red flags for consumer privacy advocates. In response, there is a growing demand for increased transparency from companies about what data is collected and how it is used. Regulation may need to evolve to ensure that the privacy rights of individuals are protected even as technology develops. Consumers must stay informed about their digital rights and advocate for their own privacy protections. Collaboration between traditional media and technology companies is likely to increase to tackle the challenge of misinformation. The expertise of news organizations in reporting and fact-checking can complement the technological capabilities of social media platforms to identify and limit the spread of false content. Such partnerships have the potential to strengthen the overall information ecosystem. However, they also require careful examination to ensure that they do not stifle competition or lead to censorship. Investment in the education of upcoming journalists and media professionals will be essential to adapt to the changing media landscape. These professionals need to be well-versed not only in journalistic ethics and standards, but also in the technical aspects of new media technologies. The emphasis on cross-disciplinary training can lead to more resilient news organizations that are equipped to handle the challenges of the digital age. Initiatives to support independent journalism and fact-based reporting, such as funding for non-profit media outlets and grants for investigative reporting, will also be vital in ensuring a diverse and dynamic media environment. The future of media is one of continual adaptation. As we move forward, it is the responsibility of all stakeholders, consumers, educators, journalists, policymakers, and technological innovators, to engage with media critically and constructively. By staying informed about the rapid technological changes and their implications, fostering open dialogue across differing viewpoints, and committing to fact-based discourse, society can navigate the evolving media landscape with both caution and optimism. As we adapt to new forms of communication, the core values of truth, transparency, and integrity must remain central guiding principles in this ever-changing terrain. Conclusion. As we conclude our journey through the pages of Divided America, we are left with a profound understanding of the multifaceted challenges facing the United States. This exploration has not only illuminated the complexities inherent in each issue, but has also underscored the interconnectedness of these societal challenges. From gun control to gender equality, healthcare to climate change, each chapter has offered an in-depth analysis, revealing the layers of historical, cultural, political, and economic factors that contribute to the nation's divisions. The overarching theme of this book has been the recognition of America as a nation at a crossroads, grappling with the legacy of its past and the uncertainties of its future. It has shown that while the issues are diverse, the common threads of inequality, injustice, and ideological polarization run deep. These challenges are not insular, but are reflective of broader global trends, impacting and being impacted by international dynamics. In the discourse on gun rights, healthcare, abortion, climate change, racial justice, LGBTQ+ rights, wealth inequality, gender equality, education, and media influence, we have seen how these issues are not just matters of policy, but are deeply embedded in the American psyche. They evoke strong emotions and drive public debate, shaping the national identity and the country's path forward. However, amid the divisions, divided America also highlights the resilience of the American spirit. It brings to light the power of grassroots movements, community initiatives, and individual activism in advocating for change and justice. This resilience is a testament to the strength of democracy and the enduring belief in the possibility of a more equitable and just society. As we reflect on the insights gained from this book, it becomes clear that the path to bridging these divides is not through further polarization, but through a collective commitment to understanding, empathy, and dialogue. It calls for a reinvigoration of the democratic principles of tolerance, open discourse, and informed engagement. The solutions to these issues require not only political will, but also the active participation of every citizen, acknowledging our shared humanity and the diverse perspectives that enrich the national fabric. In conclusion, Divided America is not merely a snapshot of the current state of affairs, but a call to action. It urges readers to move beyond passive observation, to become active participants in shaping the future. This book serves as a foundation for informed discussion, critical thinking, and a renewed commitment to working together towards a more united, understanding, and equitable America. The challenges are many, but so too are the opportunities for progress and unity. The future of America, as this book illustrates, rests in the hands of its people, diverse, dynamic, and determined to forge a better path forward.